After 10 years of absence, Billionaire discovers his adopted dad's incredible struggle for food. Ryan Masters stepped off the plane, his heart pounding with anticipation. It had been a decade since he left his dusty Midwest hometown, but now he was back, richer than he ever dreamed. Miles of success and wealth lay behind him, yet nothing prepared him for the sight of his childhood streets. The familiar diner, where he'd shared countless Sunday breakfasts with his father, was now a ghost, just a faded vacancy sign staring back at him. Anguish twisted in his chest as he thought of the laughter and love that once filled that space. The town that had painted his childhood with joy now bore the heavy mark of economic struggle. Memories flooded back as he walked down Main Street. He recalled the warmth of his mother's hugs, his father's steadfast support. It all felt like another lifetime. Yet, the joy faded into a cold reality. Buildings that had once buzzed with life now stood silent, forgotten. Each step pressed heaviest on his heart. The very community that shaped him was losing its soul. But the hardest blow came when he discovered Henry, his adoptive father, was struggling to make ends meet. Upon learning that Henry was now working 3 part-time jobs and depending on charity, Ryan's got twisted in guilt. How had he let it come to this? He remembered his father as a proud veteran, a beacon of strength, but here was Henry, proud and shamed, barely scraping by. Would it crush his father's spirit if Ryan stepped in to help? Ryan's heart raced as he wrestled with the conflict. Keep his distance, allow Henry his dignity, or swoop in with his wealth and save the day. As he navigated through this emotional mire, Ryan began to see flashes of hope. Neighbors rallied together, supporting one another with quiet gestures of kindness. He watched the young mother next door juggle 2 jobs while still cooking dinner for her kids, the elderly couple who never faltered in their Thursday bingo nights, the children laughing and playing soccer in a park that desperately needed upkeep. Every story he encountered stirred something deep within him. But just as the flickering spark of revival ignited within him, the pandemic hit. Fear blanketed the town like an oppressive fog, panic spreading. Ryan witnessed the vulnerability of those he cared about, friends and family trembling under economic strain. Should he step in and apply a financial band-aid, or could his contribution be more meaningful? The question gnawed at him even as he felt moved by the indomitable spirit of his community. At family dinner, halting conversations filled the air, passing dishes brought unsteady smiles. With Henry at the head of the table, Ryan gazed down at empty plates, memories of shared meals flooding back in surges of warmth. How could he offer help without stripping away the love that defined his family? This dilemma haunted him. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The realization hit him like a lightning bolt. His father's sacrifices and the community's love were the true measures of wealth. Should he just write checks or learn how to inject life back into the very heartbeat of his hometown? As fear loomed like a storm above him, Ryan stood at a crossroads, engulfed in his family's legacy and the struggles facing his community. Would his actions honor them, or lead him down a path of unwanted charity? The tension gathered, setting the stage for a decision that could change everything. Ryan stood outside the familiar house, the porch steps worn by years of use, and the paint peeling like memories forgotten. He could see the soft glow spilling through the window, and the warm hum of laughter floated out to him. But it was a bittersweet sound, reminding him of the distance he had created between himself and those he loved. Taking a deep breath, he pushed the door open. Inside, the scent of baked bread wrapped around him like a hug. The kitchen felt alive, bustling with movement, his father's presence commanding the room. Henry was busy preparing dinner, his hands deftly chopping vegetables. Ryan noticed a few missed calls from his dad, a reminder that even in a casual goodbye, he had been a stranger for too long. "Ryan!" Henry's smile transformed the evening. His eyes lit up with a warmth that made Ryan's heart ache. They embraced, an embrace that felt both familiar and foreign. "Look at you! You've grown." "Not just in height, Dad," Ryan chuckled, the words bittersweet. He knew he had grown far beyond just a few inches. He had transformed into a man who had left his roots behind. A stark contrast to this life filled with love and struggle. As they settled at the table that evening, stories flowed as easily as the simple meal Henry set before them. The conversation was a dance of laughs, memories, and unspoken worries. Ryan felt the weight of his father's struggle in every garbled joke and quiet hesitation. How long could they keep this facade going? "Things have been tough around here," Henry admitted, his voice strained at the edges. Ryan's heartbeat quickened. Was this the moment? The words "let me help" hovered on his lips, an uninvited guest that managed to escape. But the resistance was palpable. He couldn't rob his father of his pride. "This town, it's different now," Ryan said instead, hoping to tread lightly. "What do you think we can do?" "Oh, we'll get by," Henry replied, deflecting. "Everyone's pulling together. Just take a little helping hand here and there." Ryan's chest tightened. Was this really enough? He knew his dad's experience. He had eaten those meals, made those sacrifices. What if we start something?" Ryan blurted, heart racing. "A community kitchen or a drive for supplies? Bringing everyone together to lighten the load?" The words felt foreign yet thrilling. "Ryan," Henry paused, searching his son's face. "That's a lovely thought, but this town is proud. They don't want to be pitted. They want to pick themselves up. It's about standing together and not falling your way." In that moment, Ryan understood. It wasn't about throwing money around or band-aids for deep wounds. It was about choosing to engage, to create something meaningful. The spark ignited within him, but the reality of it stung. Could he really convince the community to accept help, even from him? As they finished dinner, Ryan found glimmers of hope amid his father's resignation. Perhaps their struggles could be transformed into collective strength. But uncertainty lingered. Could he truly be the catalyst for change when he had been absent for so long? Later that night, Ryan lay awake, wrestling with his thoughts. He yearned to honor his roots, yet the fear of rejection loomed large in his mind. There was an electricity in the air, a promise of something that could blossom or wither based on his next move. As dawn broke, a plan began to form, but the question lingered: would Henry support him, or would his father's pride be yet another obstacle to overcome? The sun poured into Ryan's room, the light fighting against the weight of his lingering doubts. He tossed and turned, the possibilities swirling in his mind. A community kitchen. A drive for supplies. But where would he even begin? The magnitude of his ambition felt overwhelming, like trying to fill an ocean with a teaspoon. After what felt like hours, he finally dragged himself from the bed. The reality of the morning routine echoed through the house, Henry humming to himself, and the faint sounds of clattering dishes in the kitchen. With each step, Ryan felt the gravity of the day pressing upon him. He was here to help, but how could he ignite change within a community that he had distanced himself from? Morning coffee brewed, and the air became infused with its rich aroma. He made his way to the kitchen and found his father at the stove, a picture of resilience at work. Henry glanced up, his eyes twinkling as he poured coffee into 2 mugs, and Ryan couldn't help but feel a warmth in their connection. "Morning, sleepyhead." Henry beamed, handing him a cup. "You look like you've wrestled with a bear." "More like wrestling with the future," Ryan replied, taking a sip. The heat burned his tongue, but he welcomed the sensation as it pulled him back to the present. "Dad, can we talk about what we discussed last night?" Henry paused, his expression shifting slightly. "Oh, you mean the community kitchen idea?" "Yeah." Ryan took a deep breath, firming his resolve. "What if we really tried to do it? I could help organize everything, but I need your support. People look up to you, Dad. Your pride means a lot to them." Henry set the spatula down, his face softening. "Ryan, it's not that I don't want to help. It's just that this town has its ways. We've always handled our problems within ourselves, you know? That's exactly why I think it could work. We can show them it's okay to lean on each other," Ryan argued, the words spilling out with newfound fervor. "And maybe they won't feel like they're asking for pity, but instead, joining together to create something beautiful." The creases in Henry's forehead deepened as he mulled over Ryan's words. The silence in the kitchen felt heavy, yet electric, a moment teetering between fear and the leap of faith. "What if no one shows up?" Henry finally murmured. "Then we try again. We can't be scared of giving our community a voice. We can turn this place around, Dad. Together." Henry's gaze fixed on Ryan, the walls he had built around himself beginning to crack. "You really believe we can make a difference?" "I know we can." Ryan felt the weight on his shoulders lighten just a bit. "But I need you. You are the heart of this community." As the first rays of sunlight illuminated the kitchen, a hint of hope filled the room. Ryan could almost see the flicker of his father's spirit igniting under the heavy cloak of pride. This was the moment to push past the hesitation, to break apart the barriers they had both felt. "What's our first step?" Henry's voice was steadier now, a flicker of belief shining through. Ryan's heart raced. "Let us hold a meeting at the community center. Gather everyone, share the idea, see what we can do together." Henry nodded, the corners of his lips lifting in a tentative smile. "All right then, let us do this." But as excitement brewed between them, Ryan remembered the tough realities of the town outside. The question lingered in the air like a storm cloud. Would the community accept help? Would they rally behind the vision? Or would Ryan find himself facing the resistance he feared? Ryan's heart thundered as he and Henry made their way to the community center. The building loomed ahead, a relic of gatherings past, its paint chipped and peeling. Today, however, it felt different. There was energy in the air, a low hum of potential. "Do you really think they'll come?" Henry's voice was laced with equal parts hope and doubt. "We have to believe they will," Ryan replied, determination coloring every word. "They need to know this is for them. Not just from us, but for everyone." As they reached the center, Ryan pushed open the door, a rush of nostalgia hitting him. He had spent countless afternoons here, playing basketball, attending town hall meetings, and even sharing stories with neighbors. He could almost hear laughter echoing in the hallways. Henry took a deep breath and nodded to Ryan. "Let us set up the chairs in a circle. It'll feel more inviting that way." Moments later, the community room was arranged, and Ryan felt the weight of their mission. Each chair represented a potential voice in this effort. With the sun streaming in through the windows, it felt like they were inviting light into something that had long been dim. As people began to trickle in, Ryan's pulse quickened. Neighbors he'd known for years walked through the door, some wearing smiles, others masks of uncertainty. He caught sight of Mrs. Jenkins, her apron dusted with flour, and the Kelly brothers, once inseparable, now a little more cautious than he remembered. "Good to see you, Ryan," Mrs. Jenkins said, her smile warm but brief. "And you, Henry? What brings you boys here?" "Actually, we wanted to talk to everyone about something important," Ryan said, his voice steady, a hint of urgency rising in him. "We're starting a community kitchen." A murmur went through the room. Some faces lit up with interest while others remained skeptical. Ryan took a step forward, his palms sweating slightly. "I know it sounds like a big step, but look around. We all know someone who struggles to get by, who has to choose between bills and groceries. He glanced around, locking eyes with his father. Henry's proud smile reassured him. We want to change that. Together. What if no one helps? A voice broke through from the back. Mr. Thompson, the town's self-appointed realist. If we don't try, we'll never know, Henry replied, stepping up beside Ryan. This isn't just about food, it's about community, relying on one another, breaking down barriers. Ryan felt a new wave of hope crashing over him. Exactly. Imagine neighbors coming together, sharing recipes, stories, and even laughter. We all have something to gain. The kitchen can be a place not just to eat, but to connect. Gradually, nods began to surface. The skepticism wasn't entirely gone, but it felt like a crack had appeared. What about funding? Another voice chimed in. What if we can't keep it going? Ryan took a deep breath, ready for this question. We can start with what we have: donations, fundraisers, and maybe even apply for some grants. But what matters most is our commitment as a community. We can't just wait for someone else to make a change. As he spoke, he could see the glimmer of something in their eyes. Uncertainty was giving way to curiosity. A spark was igniting. A few moments later, the whispers resumed, voices rising and falling like the tide. Ryan felt adrenaline surging. This was at the moment they could rally together and take a leap of faith. And if it doesn't work? Mr. Thompson asked again, his brow furrowed. What if it does? Ryan countered, heart racing. What if we start something beautiful, something that lasts? The community room stood still for a moment, time stretching as hope hung in the air. As thoughts swirled, Henry looked at Ryan, ready to back him up. Let us give it a shot. We owe it to ourselves. But just as the atmosphere seemed to brighten, Ryan noticed someone at the back of the room. The figure was familiar, but brought a tide of tension rushing back. It was Victor, the local businessman who always thrived on control, and the last person Ryan expected to see here. What is your angle, Ryan? Victor's voice cut through the air, dripping with suspicion. Ryan's stomach dropped. What did Ryan have to say to the man who represented everything he thought he had walked away from? Ryan's heart raced, his face flushed. Victor's presence was an unexpected storm, a reminder of the ties he had tried so hard to sever. We just want to help the community, he stammered, fumbling for the right words. Victor narrowed his eyes, stepping closer, a predator sensing weakness. Help? Or are you just looking for some kind of charity project to impress the folks? You think they need you, Ryan? His voice dripped with condescension, and Ryan could feel the doubt creeping back. A wave of anger sparked inside Ryan. It's not about me. His voice rose, surprising himself. This is for everyone. We can't just sit back and wait for someone else to come in and fix things. The room fell silent. Faces turned to him, caught between alarm and interest. Henry stepped in, sensing the tension rising. Victor, we just want to bring people together. To feed them, yes, but also to connect them. It's bigger than food. Victor smirked, crossing his arms, clearly unimpressed. And what makes you think this will work? What if you end up just wasting time and money? Ryan took a deep breath, channeling all his determination. Because we care. Because we can't turn a blind eye to people struggling every day. We have to try. He felt his pulse quicken. Could he turn Victor's skepticism into motivation? Mrs. Jenkins raised her hand tentatively. I think Ryan is right. We do need to try. It's time we stopped letting this town slip into despair. Ryan's heart swelled. A flicker of hope spread through him as the room began to murmur in agreement. The hesitant faces now held embers of support. He turned to Victor. We may not have all the answers, but we can start with what we have. Isn't that enough? Victor remained silent, assessing the crowd, the hesitation clear on his face. To everyone else, he was a force. To Ryan, he was simply a reminder of limitations. Finally, Victor spoke, more thoughtfully this time. "And if I provide some funding to get this kitchen started, what's in it for me?" His gaze was piercing. Ryan knew there was an underlying question there, a challenge. "We show the community that we can be better together. And if you're willing to invest in that change, you gain something too." "It's about the legacy, Victor," Ryan replied, feeling new confidence build. "Legacy?" Victor scoffed, but there was a glint of intrigue in his eyes. "What do you call this kitchen, anyway?" "Not just a kitchen, but a safe space. A place where people feel seen and heard. That's worth investing in." Ryan stood taller, feeling a shift of energy in the room. A moment of silence enveloped them. Then, out of the corner of his eye, Ryan caught a glimpse of someone wiping tears away at the back of the room. It was Lucy, a single mother he had seen struggle so often. Her expression was a mix of gratitude and something deeper. "I'll help," she said, her voice steady. "I'll volunteer for anything you need, Ryan." The warmth of her willingness spread through the crowd. Others began to murmur their support. "I'll help too. Count me in." Each voice built on the last like waves lapping against the shore. As more people stepped forward, Ryan felt the walls of doubt start to crumble. This was it, the tide was turning. But then, Victor's interruption brought a sudden chill back to the room. "Fine then. I'll meet with you tomorrow, Ryan. We can discuss this further," he said, his demeanor shifting as he regained control. "Thank you," Ryan replied, surprised by the relief flooding him. But even as he spoke, a nagging doubt lingered in the back of his mind. Was this really an opportunity to help, or just another strategy for Victor's profit? As the meeting wrapped up, the tension slowly dissolved, replaced by excitement and hope. People laughed and chatted, eager to start planning and sharing ideas. Ryan and Henry stood at the front, watching the community come alive. The air felt electric. Yet Ryan couldn't shake the looming question. What had Victor really planned for the kitchen? Deep down, he knew they had to be ready for anything. What would happen when Victor's true intentions were revealed? Together, with hearts full of hope, they were setting out on a journey they could hardly fathom. But Ryan couldn't help but wonder if the real battle was just beginning. The next day dawned with a mix of anticipation and dread. Ryan couldn't shake off the feeling that Victor's offer came with strings attached. The kitchen idea was no longer just a dream. It was now a challenge. His heart quickened as he prepared for their meeting. He arrived early, anxiety bubbling in his stomach. The empty space around him seemed to resonate with his thoughts. Were they really ready for this step forward? As he set up a few chairs and placed a tablecloth over a rickety table, the sound of the door jingling brought him back to reality. It was Lucy. "Hey, Ryan. I wanted to help get things ready," she said, her smile brightening the dim space. For a moment, all his worries faded. "Thank you. I could use an extra hand," he replied, feeling lighter already. They began chatting about their hopes for the kitchen while arranging chairs in a circle. Lucy spoke passionately about how hard it had been for her to make ends meet for her children. "If we can do something to help even a few families, it'll be worth it," she said. That shared resolve buoyed Ryan's spirits. Maybe they could build something that had real value. As more volunteers trickled in, the atmosphere shifted from anxious to hopeful. Each person carried their own story, their own urgency to make a difference. Ryan felt a surge of strength. They were united, all of them with that same burning desire to change their community. Then, just as the positive energy reached a peak, Victor strutted in. Tall and impeccably dressed, he almost seemed to suck the warmth out of the room with him. Ryan's stomach dropped once more. "Good to see everyone is already hard at work," Victor said, a smirk creeping across his face. "Let us see what we're really dealing with here." Ryan fought to hold his composure as Victor began inspecting the space, his expressions a mix of curiosity and disdain. "Looks like you've got the beginnings of a charity project, but is it sustainable?" Victor asked, darting his eyes from the volunteers to Ryan. "What are you planning on feeding these people?" "I'm assuming leftovers once he cut it." Ryan felt a rush of frustration, but he held back his retort. Instead, he called upon the support of Lucy and the others. "We want to offer fresh meals, healthy options. Some even want to teach cooking classes. It's about more than food, it's about building community." Victor nodded thoughtfully, though his skepticism remained. "Interesting approach," he murmured. But then he added, "Just remember that these things take money, and a lot of it." It was a challenge. The way he said it made Ryan feel like a child standing in front of a playground too big to conquer. Was Victor trying to scare them back into silence? "We'll find a way," Ryan asserted, the defiance sparking in his chest. "This community will support it." Victor leaned back slightly, intrigued. "I don't know. What if nobody shows up once the novelty wears off? Then you'll just have a bunch of hands asking where the food is." In that moment, something inside Ryan shifted. It wouldn't be just about us serving meals. It'll be about creating a space where our neighbors can rely on one another. Isn't that something worth believing in? Victor's expression hardened, but Ryan could see a flicker of something. Was it respect? It vanished just as quickly, replaced with a calculating stare. "Keep your eyes open. If you stumble, I might just stand back and watch." The tension climbed as Victor exited, a shadow looming over their bright plans. "Don't let him get to you," Lucy said softly, placing a reassuring hand on Ryan's arm. "I know," he replied. "But we need to be ready for anything. We can't let his doubts stifle our hopes." The energy in the room sparkled with potential, but deep inside, Ryan felt the weight of Victor's words pressing down hard. Could they really make this happen? And at what cost? As they resumed planning, an unshakable question loomed. What compromises might they have to face to fulfill their vision? Their journey was just beginning, and Ryan dared to think of what could emerge from the chaos ahead. Would they rise to the occasion or risk losing everything? The next day brought a fresh wave of determination, but anxiety still hung in the air like dense fog. Ryan spent the morning crafting a display board showcasing their vision, photographs of the neighborhood, and gleaming snippets of optimism. Every time the door creaked open, he felt that familiar flutter of hope mixed with trepidation. Lucy arrived early again, this time with bags of supplies. A basket filled with fresh vegetables and herbs peeked out. "You wouldn't believe what I found at the market," she exclaimed. Excitement lit up her face. "These are from the local farms. Can you believe it? Fresh, right here." Ryan joined her in unpacking the goods, his heart swelling at the thought of all the delicious meals they could create. "This is amazing, Lucy. Just imagine the classes we could have teaching others to cook with fresh ingredients." The two laughed together, siblings in purpose. That laughter soon attracted others, each one arriving with their own contributions, some posters, others clippings of recipes they hoped to try. Before long, the little space buzzed with chatter, ideas igniting into life. But just as the atmosphere lifted, the door swung open again, and in walked Victor, unmistakable in his tailored suit. The energy in the room dipped instantly. Ryan's smile faltered. "We were just discussing fresh ingredients and plans for our first community meal," he said, pushing back against the dread that threatened to overtake him. Victor's gaze drifted over the vibrant spread of vegetables. "Farmer's market," he drawled, "wonderful, but has anyone thought about the logistics? Sourcing, budgeting, the manpower?" Ryan clenched his jaw, hating that Victor had a point. "We'll figure it out as we go." He tried to summon conviction in his voice, but the unease scratched at him. "Planning is key, Ryan. You can't just throw ingredients together and hope for the best," Victor replied, crossing his arms, deliberately cold. "You have to think about how this looks from the outside. You want eager eyes on you, right? Lucy stepped forward, fingers fidgeting with a rolled-up recipe. And we want to inspire. We're not just cooking for show. We're building community, supporting each other. Her voice, though steady, quavered at its edges, reflecting the nervous energy of the room. Victor raised an eyebrow, clearly unconvinced. Community? Sure. But it's not about feel-good stories. It's about sustainable practices. Where's your plan? The silence threatened to swallow the room. Ryan felt pressure building inside his chest. We have ideas. Ideas will not make your vision a reality, my friend, Victor interrupted, a tone like icy steel. In that moment, a spark inside Ryan ignited, fierce and stubborn. We're not backing down. We have real ideas and real heart. Our community matters, and we're going to show it. Victor paused, studying Ryan's expression as if trying to weigh the fire flickering inside him. In that case, prepare to face the realities of this venture. Energy doesn't come without a price, he said, finally turning to leave. Just don't say I didn't warn you. As the door closed behind him, tension hung like a thick fog. The volunteers exchanged glances, some whispering, voices trembling with uncertainty. Lucy spoke softly. Do you really think we can do this? His heart raced, uncertainty coiling around him like a snake, but let the question breathe. Yes, he replied, resolute. We can. But we have to keep our heads clear and stay united. The challenge ahead loomed, enormous yet compelling. They needed a plan. As they gathered around the board, ideas began to flow: fundraising events, partnerships, community outreach. They had to present a united front, and one that could withstand Victor's scrutiny. With every voice joining in, Ryan felt the shadows lifting just a bit. But deep down, doubt lingered. They had a growing mountain to climb, and how they could conquer it still felt obscured. What would happen when reality hit them full force? They were stepping into a storm of expectations, but the question remained: were they prepared for the thunder? Ryan took a deep breath, feeling the weight of every challenge ahead. Okay, let us break this down, he said, his voice steadier now, grounding them back into the task. The group leaned in closer, eyes brightening with renewed focus. First things first, we need a strategy. What resources do we have? What gaps do we need to fill? Lucy fired back. We have these amazing local farms ready to partner with us. They believe in what we're doing. Her enthusiasm was contagious, spreading through the group like wildfire. Agreed, said Marcus, a tall man with wild curls and a contagious smile, who had just joined their effort. We can set up a community-supported agriculture program. People pre-order fresh veggies, and in return, we teach them how to cook. It's a win-win. The room began to hum again, the uncertainty dissipating as ideas flowed more freely. Each suggestion opened the door for another. What if they had cooking demos in the park? A showcase of local cuisine? They could host weekly meals where families could share recipes, ideas, and laughter. Each plan built upon the last, painting a picture of burgeoning community spirit. Ryan found himself swept along, the fire inside him reigniting. But amidst their spirited brainstorming, a dark shadow flickered in the back of his mind, the looming specter of Victor's doubts. Was their passion enough to overcome the hurdles they'd face? Despite all their enthusiasm, could they really stand up to the cold reality that awaited them just outside their doors? Okay, I think we have a solid start, Ryan said, trying to shake off the heaviness from Victor's words. Let us put together an outline, reach out to the farms, and see what we need in terms of funding. Then we can organize a launch event. Lucy's eyes sparkled. Yes. We need to get the community involved from the start. Let them feel they own this project too. The conversation flowed, laughter ringing in the air again, but in the depths of his mind, Ryan couldn't help but wonder if Victor's warning would follow them. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson, They headed home, tired but buzzing with excitement. Ryan could feel the challenge ahead, like a low rumble of thunder. But before he could drown too deep in thought, a notification pinged on his phone. An unfamiliar name flashed on the screen, and his pulse quickened. Victor Peters. What could he want now? He murmured, a knot of dread tying itself in his stomach. The message was brief but sharp. Meeting tomorrow at 3 p.m. Bring your best ideas. Let us see if you can prove me wrong. Ryan stared at the screen, the air thick with anticipation. Fighting two plaguing thoughts, one urging him to tackle the challenge head-on, while the other whispered doubts into his ears. He knew tomorrow could shift everything. Was he ready for the showdown? What would Victor throw at him to knock him down this time? Ryan hardly slept that night. The message from Victor twirled in his mind like a relentless windstorm. His heart raced every time he thought about their meeting. 3 p.m. felt both eternity away and right around the corner. As the hours of the night crawled by, he wondered if he had what it took to stand toe-to-toe with Victor, and whether the ideas they had worked so hard to create were enough to impress him. Morning light streamed through his window, casting shadows that danced on the walls. He dragged himself out of bed, splashing cold water on his face, as if it would wash away his anxiety. Coffee brewed in the kitchen, filling the air with warmth. It was a comforting aroma, one he usually looked forward to, but today it only seemed to amplify his nerves. He quickly jotted down ideas on a notepad, hoping to gather his thoughts before facing Victor. Community engagement. He wrote for the third time. Partnerships with local farms. Underneath, he scribbled the words make them feel connected. But how could he connect with Victor, a man he respected but feared? As he left the house, Ryan felt the neighborhood come alive around him. Children giggled as they raced to the bus stop, and the smell of breakfast wafted from nearby homes. These mundane sights grounded him, reminding him of what was at stake. Each face he saw reflected the community. He cared about the people who could benefit from their project. He couldn't back down. Arriving at Victor's office, a sleek building where cold steel and glass met the sunlight, Ryan paused at the entrance. His heart thudded painfully against his ribs. Taking a deep breath, he stepped inside, the cool air washing over him with a sense of urgency. Victor was already seated, scanning through a pile of papers, his posture exuding authority. "Ryan," he said without looking up, "glad you made it." His tone was sharp, pinning Ryan to the spot like a butterfly on display. "Thanks for having me," Ryan replied, a hint of confidence creeping into his voice. He took a seat across from Victor, folding his hands in his lap to keep them from shaking. The silence stretched between them. Ryan glanced at Victor's sharp eyes, dark and unyielding. He finally broke the quiet. "I've gathered some ideas. It's about building community support." Victor raised a finger. "Before we get into that," he interrupted, "let us be honest. You know this is going to take more than just nice ideas and warm sentiments. You're going to have to back everything up with research. Statistics that show why this matters." Nodding, Ryan felt the dread seep in again. "I understand. But it's also about passion. The community needs to feel involved. We want them to be part of this, not just spectators." Victor leaned back slightly, examining him. "And what makes you think the people will connect to something intangible? They want something they can see, progress they can touch." With each volley, Ryan's pulse quickened, but the words poured out of him, fueled by a mixture of fear and resolve. "But Victor, this is about more than just numbers. This is about people's lives. Healthy food isn't just a business, it's a necessity." For a moment, Victor's expression softened, and Ryan felt a flicker of hope. The man wasn't completely unreachable. Maybe, just maybe, there was a way to meet in the middle. But before Ryan could gather his thoughts, Victor stood up abruptly, as if he could sense the shift in the air. "Let us see your ideas then. Prove to me that this can work." With his heart hammering, Ryan felt a surge of determination. This was the moment he had long awaited, a chance to show Victor the vision that had ignited a spark within him. As he began to pull out his notes, he wondered whether this would bring him closer to his dreams or push him deeper into a box. Would he be able to reshape Victor's expectations? In that charged moment, one question hung above all else. Were their dreams for the community strong enough to stand against the formidable wall of a billionaire? Ryan took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment settle on his shoulders. He spread out the papers, each one a testament to the countless hours he and the volunteers had dedicated to developing their community kitchen plan. "This is not just about feeding people," he began, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "It's about building connections, empowering families, and restoring hope in a community that desperately needs it." Victor leaned forward, scanning the notes. "Show me how you'll make it sustainable," he challenged. "Can you convince the town that investing their time and effort here will yield tangible results?" "Absolutely," Ryan responded, growing more passionate. "We'll host workshops to teach cooking skills and healthy eating habits. Every person who walks through those doors isn't just a recipient, they become a part of this community. A community that can help itself." His voice rose slightly, echoing the conviction he felt. Building a community kitchen isn't charity. It's an investment in ourselves. Victor's brows furrowed a little, but his silence was antagonistic. "And what about costs? What are you prepared to lose?" "We've already reached out to local farms for donations," Ryan said, urgency fueling each word. "And we'll canvass the neighborhood for supplies. We're not waiting for handouts, we're taking action." Victor paused. "Interesting angle. But how will you ensure active participation?" The room felt alive with possibility as Ryan spoke. "Engage families with cooking classes, monthly gatherings, and maybe even a garden where everyone can contribute. People bond over food. They learn relationships flourish when they cook together. It invites participation, rather than demanding it." Victor's eyes narrowed as he assessed Ryan's eagerness. "Romanticizing teamwork keep the doors open. What are your contingency plans? When things get tough, how will you keep spirits from waning?" With every question, Ryan felt a stronger resolve. "By creating a cycle of sharing. Our success won't be just measured in meals served, but in friendships rekindled, memories created. Resilience is built through community bonds. We'll help each other and uplift everyone through this common cause." As Victor listened, a flicker of intrigue crossed his face. This was new territory. "Let us say you're right, for the sake of argument. What happens next? Tell me what this looks like 6 months from now, 1 year." Ryan leaned forward, buoyant with a vision. "Imagine the kitchen bustling on a Wednesday night. Neighbors laughing as they chop vegetables for the week's meals. Kids running around, families gathered in shared laughter, recipes exchanged over freshly made bread. Community members volunteering to teach cooking classes, while others share their culinary heritage. This kitchen becomes a cultural melting pot, a place where individuals feel valued." "That sounds like a dream," Victor remarked, but there was no ridicule in his tone, just a challenge. "Dreams don't fund themselves." "Then we create a sustainable model," Ryan replied fiercely. "We'll host fundraising events featuring community cooking competitions, partner local businesses who can sponsor meals, or offer loyalty cards where community members can donate meals to others. It's about turning this into a shared vision." The glimmer in Victor's gaze was burning bright, but it wasn't absent either. "Construct a business plan with numbers, Ryan. Show me it's viable. Fundability will be your ally here." "I will." Ryan felt a surge of belief. "This is just the beginning. Not only will we feed bodies, but we'll also nourish spirits. We can create a legacy." "I believe that." With each passing moment, a newfound clarity emerged. Ryan had come here ready to justify why this community kitchen mattered. Now he knew that his passion alone could forge the connection he sought, not just with Victor, but with everyone else in the town. "Okay," Victor finally said, pushing the papers towards Ryan. "I will help. But I want to see every detail." The revelation caught Ryan off guard and elation swelled, pushing aside fears. "You'll champion this? Let us not get ahead of ourselves. I'll back you, but you need to come through with the numbers. The strategies make this a project that excites me. If you can do that, we might just make a change." In that moment, with Victor's words hanging in the air, Ryan felt the walls of fear wavering. Together, they could create a shift. Standing up, he extended his hand. "Thank you. I will make you proud of this kitchen." Victor shook his hand, a glint in his eye that held neither mockery nor disdain, but a simmering curiosity. "Just remember, Ryan, ideas are just ideas until they're crafted into something real." As Ryan stepped away from the meeting, heart racing with hope, he grasped the importance of the journey ahead. He held on to the spirit of those he had seen support him back home, the laughter of young mothers, the steadfast hands of neighbors. They were his driving force. Now it was time to take action, to pull together that community spirit and carry it into reality. Ryan felt invigorated, ready to rally the town to make their shared vision a reality. In the end, victory lay not just in the successful launch of the kitchen, but in revitalizing a community spirit that would bring light to every corner and every household, restoring what had been lost. As he drove back home, a radiant smile broke across his face, filled with determination and hope. This was no longer just about him. It was about everyone. Together, they would rise. And there was a beautiful stirring in his heart, an echo of every soul who believed amid turmoil that greatness is always born from the love of community, and every single step, no matter how small, could lead to something wondrous. If you felt that wave of emotion, that spark of joy, this is the moment to dive deeper into incredible stories. You need to subscribe now to our channel, so you don't miss our next exclusive transformations. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and spread the love. Comment below your feelings about this conclusion. What inspired you the most? And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this uplifting message. Your support means everything.